Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, geeks, nerds, and ambassadors everywhere, and welcome to the Ambassadorial Wing and Council of the Ones Babylon 5 review. And to everyone in the chat, Fiona Wolf, obviously, also one of the panelists, Bureau31, Lewis X Sparrow, and everybody else that might be lurking, good afternoon, and thank you for joining us today. And today we are coming to one of the really truly crucial episodes of Babylon 5, Severed Dreams. And with me today, I've got my fellow council members, Fiona Wolf, Lord Kojay, and Mountains of Elysium. My friends, we have arrived. This is the big one. So, hope y'all are doing well. Hope y'all got your beverages, your snacks, or whatever. And sit back, kick back, and let's dig in to Severed Dreams.
Where to begin?
This one won a lot of awards, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, it did.
Mm-hmm.
That's correct,
Mm-hmm.
I believe. Yes.
Well, honestly, this episode, the title says it all. Two dreams are severed. The dream of the Earth Alliance and the dream of the Gate of the Great Council.
Mm-hmm.
The Council is broken. If we no longer are whole to our covenant with Valen, then the Council should be broken, as was prophesied.
That made my heart flip with excitement because I was like, I did not know when I was watching this. I did not know it was prophesied to break up at all until she said that, and I was like, "Whoa!"
Well, that's because what Valen knew was basically what Sinclair knew up to that point. So he knew that was going to kind of go down.
And he's probably smart. He's like, it should be broken up because I can't predict anymore. I don't know.
Well, honestly, for me, this is a very heavy episode, very emotional episode, and there's a lot to dig into. So we can start with the Earth War against Clark, or we can deal with the Minbari and go from there. So, guys, I yield the floor. Which one do you want to tackle first?
Maybe we could do Minbari because we brought it up.
Sure. Yeah, I'm good with that. You all know that. I am your host. You are my guests. So I'm good either way, honestly. But yeah, it seems like the Minbari are kind of like Warner Brothers. They're always gaining their own way. They're always making stupid decisions. Oh, hey, everybody's at war. Let's just stay hidden and not do anything.
A disconnect from the people.
Yes, exactly.
And notice how there were only 3 members that stayed, and I'm betting it's the warrior cast that didn't lift a finger because they were against when they found out why they had to stop the Minbari war against the Earth Alliance. So I'm guessing those stubborn 3, and I could name some Warner Brothers 3 that could be too.
Yeah, just a little bit.
It's just crazy, the pride and everything she says. It's like
pride
it happens with these factions.
Yeah. Go ahead, Elysium, please.
There was only 3 stayed, but there are 4 warrior cast on the council. And as they were leaving, one of the warriors tried to stop another from leaving. It was like, please don't leave. He just said, he walked past. You remember one of them grabbed the other one who was trying to leave. And I think that was one of the warriors may have left with them.
Oh my gosh,
that's really interesting.
Right.
Yep.
I think you're right.
Yeah, because remember, the council was unbalanced. It was no longer 3, 3, and 3. It was 3, 2, and 4.
Yeah, that was like Neroon's doing, right?
So yeah, I think so.
Well, they brought Neroon in. He became a council member, thus making it imbalanced. But then he kind of bounced it off again during the Civil War when he said his heart is religious. Oh my!
I would love a Neroon story. Like his story sounds very interesting with all those changes.
I'd love to hear him speak in this episode because I think it would have been interesting.
Yeah, because they probably had just a bunch of stand-ins because, well, you don't necessarily need people because they're dressed all in gray with their faces covered.
Yeah, and also, I think they maxed out their guest actors. Anyways,
Yeah, and maybe sometimes there could be like scheduling conflicts, so maybe they couldn't get a certain actor.
Mm-hmm.
And they actually got the wrong actor for this episode from the story that I think it was supposed to be. What's the actor's name who was played Major? Everett.
I think he put it in the message thingy.
I did, and I can't remember who it was.
Ed Ryan was originally supposed to be played by Everett McGill, Twin Peaks, who he met in a restaurant and told his staff to hire him.
And
Ooh.
Go ahead.
No, far away, because I lost that little memo and I was trying to find it again before we had the chat.
And then, but they forgot his first name, and then when asked, "Do you mean Bruce McGill?" JMS said yes and had no idea who it was when he showed up on set.
And it was D-Day from Animal House.
Yes. And I just saw a note that he was in Sum of All Fears. I'm going, oh wow, there he is.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
I think he was also in a show called Wolf's Creek. That was pretty good.
He might have been, but I'll say this.
I remember.
Even though it wasn't Everett McGill and it was Bruce McGill still did a good job as Ed Ryan, as Major Ryan.
Yeah, that one line you said about "we know the people we kill now," and he had an obsidian cat or something like that, or
Abyssinian.
And 3 kids.
Yeah, a wife.
Yeah.
You know, it's like now they know everybody they take down if they break away.
Yeah, which stinks.
I think that's interesting because the comfort of like going up against a foreign enemy in any context, you have the luxury of that disconnect to not really have any attachment to them in order to fight them and kill them. Yeah. So if we knew everybody, would we really be fighting as hard? And then, we have the Civil War where they do know everybody.
I think what J.K. Chesterton said was that the true soldier fights not because he hates what is in front of him, but because he loves what is behind him. And unfortunately, in this case, those that are behind him, they're fighting are the same people. So they're fighting those that they love, and that makes it so much more terrible. And both sides have good people and bad.
Yes, very true. Well, the really interesting thing about the Civil War, the American Civil War, was it tore apart a lot of families, which is sad.
Yeah.
And if you parallel that with the war against Clark, he himself, one man's pride, one man's ego, one man's lust for power, will end up destroying a lot of lives, and that's a shame.
Yeah, because I'll even argue that even the Civil War in our country, there's still like ripple effects of that still today. And like these scars don't go away quick. So for one man to do this to so many people for his agenda, it's beyond me. I understand it. I just don't accept it.
Yeah, and that's understandable. Well, and this episode's title is very appropriate. I mean, severed dreams. Dreams have been broken. Dreams have been cut to pieces, and it's all because, well, yes, the shadows do have a hand to play, but I think if you look at in terms of the conflict against Clark, even if the shadows were not at play here, were not a participant, Clark probably was still what he did, regardless, because this is a man that was driven by ego and his own ego, and he had the forces, regardless of the shadows or not, to do what he is currently doing.
Because I think he was going to do this regardless of having the shadows, but the shadows were involved with the president's death too. So
yes, that is true.
With Delenn and that ranger saying that these people feel confident because the shadows are on their side, they're doing their malicious will or whatever. That makes sense with what's going on with the rest of the world and with the Civil War. So I keep wondering if the timing of this is also because of the shadow war coming, because they're encouraging Clark. I wouldn't say influence, I'd say encourage, because Clark has been malicious before.
Well, the other thing to remember, Koj, is the fact that when the Minbari Ranger comes in, he's telling them everyone's going to war with them there because everyone believes that the shadows are on their side, and nobody realizes, hey, we're all being played here.
Mm-hmm.
And the Great Council has no concern for others.
Yeah.
Their problems aren't our problems, yo. Uh-oh.
Oh
Okay.
man. Oh.
One thing I will bring up. One other thing I will bring up here is the interaction with G'Kar and Delenn and them when that injured ranger comes in, and Delenn's like, "How far can you carry him?" And G'Kar is like, "As far as you need me to."
Oh.
And then a little while later, before she departs to go confront the Grey Council, and she tells Lennier, "I have left instructions. Any decisions you make, I'll back." And then she has that little brief exchange with G'Kar, and she's like, "Goodbye, G'Kar. I feel like you're not the same person I met 5 years ago."
Yes.
And he's like, "We all have changed."
I wonder, was G'Kar always that guy, but he let bluster and politics put that mask in front of who he was at the core. I think we find a lot of these guys when they can be dicks, but when they're broken down to their components, you find there's a good man underneath. Londo, G'Kar, a lot of these people. And I think these people always were that. It just needed, unfortunately, something drastic. It's, I think, in the Christian sense, it's if you're not clay, if your heart is stone, God has to chip at it, and that'll hurt a lot more.
Yes.
And I think that's right with what you're saying with you just said earlier, like the soldier fights not what he hates, but what's behind him. And I think like in that regards, everyone's like a soldier against bad here in a way, either they're priest or ambassador or whatever. So like G'Kar, maybe he was always that person. It's just that what was behind him was kind of like tainted, and greedy, political prejudice, whatever. And then that got removed with something greater. And then I guess it allowed him to be even more himself.
Yes.
His better self.
Well, and I discussed this a couple of years ago when I did my video discussing just the character of G'Kar, and a lot of G'Kar's journey did start off as him being very self-serving, very self-centered, but then he had that crucial turn, one where he realizes that the war with the Centauri is not going to turn out the way they plan. But then when Kosh has his interaction with G'Kar, that really right there is the catalyst for his transformation into this new persona, into this new person. And I cannot help but maybe put a little bit of my own Christian perspective on that. Kind of like... And y'all, if y'all disagree with me here, that's fine. That's your right to. I put G'Kar's turn in that episode, Dust to Dust, parallel or somewhat parallel in the Book of Acts with Paul's conversion, because here's Paul, a man who was very antagonistic, who was an opponent to the Christian movement, to the early Christian movement. And then he has his encounter on the road to Damascus. And from there, his whole life changes. In G'Kar's case, I would not necessarily say that Kosh is divine, but you could draw a parallel there between those two encounters where Kosh acts as the catalyst for G'Kar to change and take the Narn in a more positive direction.
I agree. I see that.
So,
and this is a good vision of that because the Narns are fighting and dying alongside the Earthers for like
yes.
what Jakar believes. So, like they really got his back, and he's really believing in his cause, and he's that powerful and influential because, essentially, especially for the Narn, he's always been a force for good. It's just now he's extending that good as like amongst his alien brothers and sisters now for a change, and that's something that we saw anti. Because before he was just only Narn, Now he's like everybody.
Well, and if you remember when he has that encounter with Kosh, and Kosh says to him through, I think it's the voice of his father or whatever
his
the case
father
may be,
on the tree.
We are fighting to save one another. If many must die so that the whole can be saved, then so be it. I'll bring up Bureau 31's comment here. Powers and principalities, Ephesians 6:12, and Zahadum. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Bureau 31, I get that reference, and yeah, I would agree with that. And actually, you know what? Y'all talk so much yourselves for a minute. I want to pull up that line of scriptures and to go ahead, please. I yield the floor. Go ahead.
I'm gonna say I like that Drazi actor. Remember that Drazi actor is like purple, not Drazi, purple or whatever. He's always reoccurring, and sometimes they put him in a Narn look because I believe that's that same actor who was checking in Londo.
That's him, and he is
Right?
he is the
He's so good.
Minbari. He's the Minbari captain in 2 episodes wherein he's kidnapped with Delenn.
Yes, that's right.
Yeah,
He's so fantastic.
I did like the part where he kept saying, "Oh, sorry, the machine must be in error. Please step back of the line, Ambassador."
And then he's also "We're so inefficient," like you say. Like you totally heard Londo.
It was like one of those scenes from I watched him with him there around Christmas. The R/malicious compliance. Yes, one must keep an eye on us at all times.
Oh yes.
Letter of the law is true with Londo.
Yeah. And just real quick, I'll read this and then we'll move on. Ephesians 6:12. For our struggle is not against flesh and blood, but against the rulers, against the authorities, against the powers of this dark world, and against the spiritual forces of evil in the heavenly realms.
Amen, man.
From the letter of Paul to the Ephesians. Anyway.
That's good. Yeah. That's good because usually a lot of times I feel personally, and this is me, is that politics is way more business as far as moral. And I feel they throw moral around only if whatever group is attached to whatever party. So I always feel torn apart in different areas. It's just that I feel like that's always taking a back seat. But that, in my opinion, should always be precedent. Like good leader, smart leader, business savvy, strong warrior, whatever. I just want a leader doing what's the right thing, not the smart thing, And that's very like surface, but that could go a lot deeper. But that's where I feel like if they push the moral back, that's where they're pushing the faith back. That's where goodness is. And then that's the business side. That's where, in the business world, to move up or keep your business, there are options where you backstab people and all that. And that's like, a path to sinful stuff. So, I like that passage a lot, man.
Yeah. Well, and, kind of digging into the episode a little bit more, when Ryan finally gets to Babylon, you really see that struggle at the beginning of the episode where they're in the firefight with the other Earth Force vessel. And his second in command is like, let me take the gloves off the rear batteries. We can punch through and then we can get out of here. And Ryan is like, I don't want us to kill another one of our own ships. He's like, but if we don't, then we can't outrun them in normal space. We have to jump to hyperspace. We have to. And it is, he does it reluctantly. He's like, all right, fine. Just get our fighters out of the line of fire. And the second in command goes, to fire crews, fire in the hole, and then they open up, and it's just it's heart wrenching to see what happens in this episode. Sheridan, when Sheridan and the rest of the command staff are having their conference meeting, and I think this is after Delenn leaves to go again. I think this is after Delenn goes to confront the Great Council, and they're like, "Hey, we knew this was coming eventually." He's like, "You pays your money, you takes your chances. If it was just us, but it's not just us." And he's like, "We can either run or we can fight." And everybody's like, even Franklin reluctantly goes, "Yeah, we're going to have to fight."
Mm-hmm.
I was actually struck by the fact that it's. I pulled up the Babylon 5 Earth Force ranks, and when you actually think about it, the major is 2 grades below Ivanova, and his second in command is the same as Corwin. He's a lieutenant.
Mm-hmm.
Basically, these are mid-level officers who the entire rebellion has fallen on their shoulders. And that's a terrible burden. Before Babylon 5 declared independence, the rebellion was on them. These guys who were 2 or 3 grades even below on their own ship suddenly are in command of the entire thing. And I don't know how I'd feel if that suddenly, in my company, if suddenly the grades above me all decided to retire and it's all down on me. What do you do? And middle of a fight, has to kill his friends. Like you mentioned at the start, I know his children, and I have to tell his wife I killed him and why.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
And that's a man who shouldn't have to face it. Sorry, Ambassador.
No. Go ahead, Lysium, please. The floor is yours. Go ahead, please.
No, it's because I was saying that mid-level guy, no wonder the poor guy was in horror about what he had to do. He didn't want to kill. And I found the name of the ship that he was fighting was the Clarkstown, Clarkstown. And it almost symbolized the rebellion. When they took the gloves off, they were able to defeat the Clarkstown. It was they one-shotted that ship basically, and they took it out. But until they were willing to fight and do the right thing, they were being pounded. Then when they stood up and did it, they basically took Clark down. I just found it an interesting foreshadowing of what's to come.
That's true.
Very astute observation, Elysium. Good job. Truly.
That's a brilliant play on words.
Yeah. Well, and the really heart-wrenching thing about this whole situation is, and Sheridan says it during that same conference, during that same meeting with the rest of the command staff. We knew this train was coming, but we hoped that we could derail it somehow. But it's coming, and there's nothing there we can, like I just mentioned, we can do one of 2 things. We can run or we can fight. Fight or flight.
Mm-hmm.
There's no third option. We can't negotiate. Negotiation's off the table, even though they try. He's like, Commander, please see that these orders are wrong. What Clark is wanting you to do is not right. And the problem is, and Ryan says it himself, Clark has spent the last year putting his own people in place. So the whole thing is just, you're going up against people who don't necessarily share the same values as you. They may wear the same uniform as you, but they don't share the same values. And that right there is a really sad, unfortunate thing.
Mm-hmm.
So.
They got intimidated into following in line, kind of like what Lockley's character will represent later. Because I imagine most of Earth Force didn't really follow him willingly. There was probably other things going on to where they were fearing for their families.
Yeah, because we even see that reflected with ISN. Like, they said they couldn't say stuff for a year of, like, of what's really been going on. So you can, they mentioned earlier that ISN's walking a fine line. So that's just from their company. Imagine their stress, because it looked like their Sinclair of ISN jumped in and interrupted their Ivanova of ISN to say, we have to tell you breaking news. They're attacking Geneva, blah, blah, blah. That's like a year of stress then. That's probably going on throughout all Earth Alliance, just like you said. We get to see it with ISN.
Yeah, you get to see it firsthand, and you see ISN go dark. And it's really... The thing is, if they had said something any sooner, they would have just gotten taken off the air even quicker. But you have to think, if enough of them had been able to get out and get loose and get free and escape, could they have set up a headquarters elsewhere where they could have really put out the truth about everything that had been going on? You have to ask yourself that question. Could ISN, the staff that wanted to do what was right, gotten out and maybe gone somewhere, heck, gone to Babylon 5, and maybe they could have set them up on the station, or maybe they could have now this is a hypothetical. Hypothetically, maybe they could have set up on Epsilon 3. Maybe they could have talked to Droll and said, hey, these people are wanting to put out the news about what's really going on. Imagine them having access to the Great Machine as just for broadcasting dang it, what's the word I'm looking for? Purposes. They could have reached everywhere. Think about it.
And they would have the best internet Wi-Fi connection ever.
Not to mention holographic, because remember Sheridan says, "Hey, can you get the holographic system online?" I might have an announcement to make.
Mm-hmm.
So,
all I know.
Unfortunately, I think. Oh, sorry, go on.
No, I just want to say, like, if Clark had been able to get his goons on Avalon 5 to really control the system and everything else around it, they would have been doomed. Because that's what the second set of ships coming through was going to do. The first wave was made to soften up the station because they did give it an upgrade back in season 2 to fight off of warships.
Mm-hmm.
So that second wave was there to finish off the job. So, boy.
I wonder, was Ari Benzane on any of those ships? He did try to take it over when Sinclair was in control. Would be interesting if he was the one lined up to take over.
Wait, the guy in the eyes?
Yes,
I was thinking about that too. Like, could you imagine if we had someone not like Sheridan in this position, or someone like that on the other end, like Eyes on that second wave of ships, as Fiona said? He's just ready, like relishing. He's like, finally, I will get Babylon 5 or a new star. I don't know, but.
Well, and Lewis Sparrow brings up a good point. Does bring up a good point here. Until Sheridan breaks from Earth, though, the people at Addison didn't know they have anywhere to go. Yeah, that's true.
Also, unfortunately, I think just with like military taking over any building that's unprepared, like ISN. I have some friends from the military and family, so those SWAT forces are thorough. So I personally think no one on ISN got out. I think they were all detained, unfortunately. And we don't see them until Clark's reign is done.
Yeah.
Yeah. They're probably held in something similar to what Sheridan was, or even what his dad was. Because they eventually did catch his dad.
Mm-hmm.
But they were treating him kinder in some ways. But they were probably still held in kind of like what you consider like a blue-collar or white-collar prison. Where it's kind of like... it's low key, but they're still watching you, so you can't go anywhere.
Exactly. Yeah. Well, and I know a lot of people sometimes focus on the action scene or the action set piece in this episode, and that is really cool. Don't get me wrong, especially now with the remaster that they've put up on HBO Max
and Amazon Prime.
Yeah, Amazon Prime too. Yeah, very true. While that all is interesting, the lead up and the consequence of everything that happens is honestly the more interesting part of this. I mean, the action is more of a through line, or as a it's you have to have the punch ups, you have to have the battle, but Delenn having to go to the Great Council, and she's like, I will tear this ship apart piece by piece with my bare hands if I have to get to the damn council. Sorry, Lord, for me swearing.
Sorry.
No, it's and then the guy stands aside, and you almost feel like you make Delenn mad enough, she could throw down.
She put the Great Council in her place by herself by standing there. She didn't.
No, I mean, I think she could actually like throw down. I think she could kick some butt.
She does. She knows how to use a bike. She used.
Yeah, it was a couple episodes ago.
Because from what we know of Lanier, and if like the Minbari are like the example of the Asian culture, if they're doing religious studies, they would be like Shaolin. Like they know a few things with kung fu or wushu or whatever they do there that's similar to it. Because they use fighting pikes. That's a bow staff. That's like a very Eastern peaceful weapon too.
That's effective.
And she does break the guy's fingers, and I think is it in season 3 or 4? He just walks across and just snaps his fingers. And that's just like kind of 2 of her own. So yeah, I would not mess with Delenn.
No. She broke that thing from the middle. She didn't have to do it over her knee. She held it straight up. Bam! Dude. Yeah. Not even in Commando could Arnold do that.
And I'll bring up Blue Sparrow's comment here. It really does pay off the build up in the last few episodes, though. The action works because of the tension. Yes, Lewis, I would absolutely agree with that. Yeah. I think it's just because we're all sci-fi geeks. We love space battles or ground battles.
Well, I think sci-fi battles are also rooted with like old, kind of war history. And I know that fascinates me, and they connect together.
Yes.
Well, and considering the kind of budget Babylon 5 had, they had to make the action parts count. Like they had to get a lot relayed to people, in like these spurts of action.
Which is why they have ground forces too.
Well, yeah, but that's also the reason why the in comparison to some other science fiction shows, they didn't have the budget to do like a big, long, drawn out battle.
So they throw torpedoes at each other.
Sometimes I wish they had the budget to do really great graphics, like let's say DS9 had, but then it would have become effects heavy. Because they didn't have the budget, they really had to work on the story. It had to stand on its own merits. And while, like I mentioned, I'd love to have seen better CGI, better graphics, I think what we got was... I'm so delighted we have Babylon 5 for the amazing stories it tells. And
I agree. I think it's all balanced. We get a lot. They put their eggs in the right baskets at the right times for the story. It complements the story. When they do go hard, they don't hold back or within their limits and beyond a little bit,
And although I'm thinking it was that JMS had a tweet out looking for the master copies for effect shots. So I'm hoping, I think we're seeing it, that's either going to Blu-ray or they may be redoing some of the effects or upgrading.
You know who I wish they would get to work on the visual effects, and this is a name we all know at least from YouTube. Robert Meyer Burnett. He did a lot of the special effects shots for Axanar, which never really got done, unfortunately.
And Axanar is amazing.
Yes, it is. And to the chat, games, movies, and comics are us. Yes, games. That is something that is very well known within the within the B5 and DS9 fandoms. That's a given. I'll bring up Bureau 31's question here, and this actually is a fairly straightforward answer. Bureau 31, I don't know if you remember, but when the Alexander gets to the station, Sheridan asks, "Where is General Haig?" And Major Ryan's like, "We were in a firefight with the Clarkstown, and he was coming back from a conference, and the ship was hit amidships, and he was killed. So General Haig got killed off."
Yeah, he didn't make it.
Yeah, unfortunately.
Well, in truth, he was forming another rebellion on Earth with Ben Sisko at the time. Because I think he was double booked at the time. The S9 had him as a similar character, but on the other side.
It's amazing how much they use each other's actors. Oh, man.
Yeah.
Oh, Bureau's talking about the outtake. I didn't know there was one, honestly. Do y'all know what Bureau's talking about?
No, I'd have to check that out, honestly.
Okay.
I actually never saw a lot of deleted scenes and such, because for TV, deleted scenes don't really bother me as much as films, because a lot of these shows, they have a line producer edit, the editors edit, the directors edit, the executive producers edit. So these things go through a lot of versions and just sequencing. So it's kind of hard to tell for me, like, oh, deleted scene, that could have been canon, because I don't know how far along it was axed out. Usually with TV for me, but it is interesting. It's just for TV when it makes the print, unless they do a director's cut of an episode, which they do sometimes. Other than that, if it doesn't make it to print, I don't kind of consider it canon or anything. Just like an alternate direction they were going to go, but didn't.
Yeah. I'll have to look that up, because honestly, I wasn't aware that there was an outtake or a deleted scene or anything like that for this episode.
That sounds interesting, though.
Yeah.
Well, there might be even more stuff in the Babylon 5 encyclopedia stuff that they did release a little while back, because it does have a video component to it if you get the complete edition.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Cool. I'll bring up Beer 31's comment here. General Haig is doing DS9. It seems he was double booked by his agent, and there's nothing to be done. Yeah, well,
they killed him then.
Well, it's classic series writing. If you can't get a character, well, then you either send him off to an island or you kill him.
It kind of makes sense, because the explanation they gave that he was caught between two things, in the story, kind of works like a metaphor for the actor was caught between two schedules, he couldn't make it. It's kind of it sounds like they used a little bit of what happened as part of the story, in a way. I can't help but think that.
It's clever. Funny. Actually, the fact that this happened makes the episode, I think, all the more poignant, because Haig seemed to die for, like with Sebastian, Come the Inquisitor. Are you prepared to die alone in the dark, where no one will kind of unknown? And this is kind of what happens to Haig. He dies alone in the dark for no meaning. He's basically killed without reason. And that makes, I think, this episode all the more poignant. And that can be done so badly wrong in other episodes. I think in Tasha Yar's case, in TNG, that meaningless death really was meaningless. Where here, that meaningless death puts Ed Ryan, the whole rebellion, on his shoulders. And it makes this episode, I think, better. Though I still like to have seen him.
Yeah.
Well, and, here's the thing, though. Ed Ryan isn't necessarily alone, because he's got Sheridan to lean on, and he's got a lot of other people that he can lean on, too, because there are other ships out there that want to sign on and join the rebellion against Clark. And it turns out there were a lot of ships that wanted to tell Clark to screw off. So, the thing I will say is this is a burden that everybody carries together. No one's just doing it on their own. Even though they may be separated, they know everybody's got their back in a lot of ways. And that's something that I really appreciate. That's something I really respect.
Yeah.
But of course, you have that really memorable moment in the episode where they have the lull in the battle, and then the little alarm goes off, and then you have the second wave of Earth warships coming in. The Churchill has been taken down. The Alexander is badly damaged. B5 is badly damaged. And then Lieutenant Corwin's like, we've got 4 more jump points forming, sir. We've got more jump points of forming, Captain. And he's like, how many? 4. Right on top of us. And then you see the Minbari battle cruisers and the White Star come through. And then, of course, you have, I think, one of the greatest scenes in a TV series ever.
Yes.
Yeah, Delay's like, nobody's touching my people. No.
Nobody's touching my fella. Although, technically, they haven't gotten to that point yet.
She said, there's only one human who's, like, defeated me, and he's behind me. You're in front of me. Aha!
There's only one human who has survived battle with the Minbari fleet. He is behind me. You are in front of me. If you value your lives, be somewhere else.
It's like, oh yeah, yep. I guess, ma'am, you have no right in this jurisdiction to do it. It's like,
you have no authority here.
She is so fired up too because she just broke the Grey Council. It's like, don't get in this lady's way, man.
That was, the first time I ever watched that, I was like, holy freaking crap, this woman's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, she may not be human, but she's awesome.
Oh, 100.
I'll bring a beer 30 once. Captain Drake orders an immediate ship-wide brown alert. I need to change my pants. I need to change your pants. Okay, all right. I'll bring up this clip because I think this clip is completely appropriate. I do. I think this clip is completely appropriate.
If you go to Troy, glory will be yours. The world will remember your name.
Achilles! Get out, Prince of Troy.
I think that. Oh, if they were putting Babylon 5 stuff on Reface, I'm definitely using it.
Oh, I hope they do, because now they can, because it's in on HBO Max, which I hope everyone's watching on there following the show, because it's glorious. You can do it easy, and
you can do the Reface with GIFs, but not with any videos at the moment.
GIFs, yeah. They have that app where people you take a picture, make the picture sing. They have that dog singing that Japanese song. I forgot.
No. Just no.
No, I'd like to see Jakar sing a few songs.
No. I don't want to be tortured. I do not want to be tortured by Narnia, by Jakar singing badly.
No, it'd be great. He'd be like, I'm thinking of hooking your love, or whatever. Just before supper's done, So, I don't know. I could watch that daily. Sorry.
Honestly, most of that cast could probably read a phone book and I'd be happy.
Agreed. Hey, that's a good Dumbledore.
That's Ambassador Dumbledore.
Yeah.
That's from the or perhaps this would be more your fancy. I'm getting too old for this sort of thing.
But your Dumbledore looks more like Dumbledore than the second actor they got for Dumbledore for me.
I actually liked the second. I liked Michael Gambon as Dumbledore.
But as looking like the first guy, I don't know. I'm still a fan of Gladiator. That's why I loved him so much. Probably that's why. But yeah, both Dumbledores are great.
Yep, very true.
I do want to mention I like the scene with Sheridan talking to his father because even if they win, I know Sheridan knows that he will not be able to talk to his father again or ever because of the communication break between, because he's living on Earth and we don't know if he's going to be detained or if he'll be fine and they just can never talk to each other ever again. So almost for win, lose, or draw, that was a final goodbye for him at that moment. And in a way, maybe I wonder if that gave Max more courage to like kiss Delen's hand like a knight kissing a lady's hand, like courting her. So I like those elements, and that I love that they gave us those elements in such a epic like magnitude like war episode. That was a gift.
Well, and for me, the love story between Sheridan and Delenn, I think, is one of the great things about this series. I mean, because it's a slow burn. It is. It's a slow burn love story because it's secondary. It's not primary, and that's the thing I love. It doesn't overwhelm the story. You get enough, but they take their time with it, which I think is great because there's so many other things that there's so many other stories they're trying to tell. So for Straczynski, the love story is kind of important because it is a motivator for Sheridan and for Delenn alike. But it's kind of, it's not pushed, it's balanced out with the rest of the storylines that are going on in the series, and I love that.
Oh yeah, I mean the whole annoying aspect of like, oh, will they, won't they, doesn't really come from this particular genre. It comes from the darn soap opera wheelhouse where it's just like, get it over with already.
Get on with it.
That feeling hurts. I hate that. Smallville hurt me for a long time in many ways. It just took forever. This feels like more organic and I want to say even more realistic in the ideal way of like, fall in love with someone you work with or see on a daily. It doesn't overpower or overbear or torture you, as you say.
Yes. Kind of like with Friends. The TV series Friends.
I gotcha.
I'll bring up Elysium's comment here. I like this father gives him permission to fight. Never start a fight, but always smash it, knowing it was the right thing. It was a way of saying I am proud of you.
Yeah, that's true. Because if you think about it, he could have second thoughts, and I think the most important thing he needs to know for himself is, am I really doing the right thing? And if he doesn't have that blessing from the father, then I think he may continue to have that doubt.
Yep, totally. So, but that is a quote that I've heard many times throughout my life. It was something that my parents taught me. It was something that my grandmother told me when I was growing up. It was something that her mother, my great grandmother, told her. Don't you ever start a fight, but don't you ever run away from one either. And that's something that I've lived with. Of course, I've also gone by the adage, pick your battles. Pick your everything, because now, of course, unfortunately, in this case, this wasn't a battle they couldn't pick. This is either they fight or they don't fight. Again, it all comes down to fight or flight, which is part of human nature. And in this case, it's part of not just human nature or humanity's nature, it's part of everyone's nature. Be it Centauri, Narn, Minbari, don't matter. So.
Sorry.
Go ahead.
Oh, sorry.
No, go ahead.
It was just mentioned there that I think I was reading through JMS commentary, and he said, like you're saying, we're saying never start a fight, but always finish it. They were doing everything they could not to be fighting, and even the Churchill, the other ships tried to prevent that too by using their own jump points rather than using the jump gates, because JMS said that those jump gates record every ship coming through and would broadcast that they'd pass through. So they were trying to keep Babylon 5 out of the fight if they didn't have to. They were doing everything they could, and yet it didn't matter. So sometimes the fight was started, so they had no option but to finish it.
Mm. That's kind of like very martial thinking, because in martial arts, we're taught that don't fight at all. It's like a last resort. Even if someone starts it, you still don't want to fight it. You kind of want to evade, block, get out of there, and go, wait, hold on, stop the fight. It's like a last minute thing, because to win a fight in some cases is actually more catastrophic than anything. So it's like, don't fight at all. It's like just a last resort. Sometimes even when someone starts a fight, if you could finish it in the sense of like get out of it peacefully and without harming them and you yourself, then that's the answer to go to. But if you can not avoid it, it's still like just the last resort.
Yeah, totally. So, but from here, this season really, the tension really gets ratcheted up many times over. And of course, the war with the shadows really, it takes its turn. And of course, in a few episodes, we'll get our one and only two-part episode of the series, War Without End, which will be, yay, lots of fun.
Oh my gosh, my heart skips a beat.
Yep. So.
Yeah, that thing had like what, 5 different storylines going on all at once.
Oh man, this one is seriously, watching Babylon Squared and then these two would be great.
Mm-hmm. Indeed. So
you're like, which one was that in that blue suit? Was it Delenn? Was it Sheridan? Was it Sinclair?
Oh man, I remembered I was wrong. I was guessing it was 1 or 2. Then I found out it was so and so, and I was like, ah! That's the best thing I could do.
Yes, because his time stabilizer got hit. He is stuck in time.
That was insane to hear. Oh,
yeah.
It's like, well, where is he? And then, oh man, this is gonna.
We don't know. He's somewhere. Literally, he's somewhere. We just don't know where the where is.
I kind of like the thread at the time because they're like, oh, he's gone again. Like they already got used to it for a second.
Catherine, fix, take. Poor Zathras, so underappreciated.
Oh man,
yes. No, I'm not Zathras. I am Zathras.
Zathras.
Yo, but I do have to
now.
wonder though, for the whole cast that you're into, like for the Minbari, is the primary cast importance based on the mother's line or the father's line? I wonder, because that could have also messed with things with their civil war as well.
I think in the Minbari, it's the mother's line is the most important.
Because I think they're coming from the angle of where the person comes from,
And just a quick shout to the chat. Artificial Johnny, greetings. Dang it, Elysium. You always do that. You're like Zathras.
Yes.
Artificial Johnny, good to see you, and thank you for tuning in. If this is your first time, welcome. Thank you. Appreciate you being here. So
welcome.
I just want to a little bit of channel trivia. The avatar for my channel was taken from this episode.
Yes, I know.
And
I realized that when I watched this episode, I was like, wait a minute.
And I keep that
You
as
dirty
a
Omega
reminder.
Squadron jerkface.
Yes, I take it like I use Cartagia. It's reminding me that bad people do things, and I need to be utterly aware in my own life of trying to choose the right thing.
You're knowing you and seeing your avatar are the only positive waves I've ever seen Cartagia. Anytime I see him, I hate him. But when I see your avatar, I'm like, hey, that's Elysium. Love.
Or are we different?
I like the fact that one of Cartagia's heads is Andreas Katsoulis' face.
What?
Yes,
What?
one of the heads in Emperor Cartagia's special room is Andreas Katsoulis' head put
Yes.
in Satori wig.
The one on the right hand side.
Oh.
It's just by the right hand side of him as he comes in the door. It's Andrew. Yes.
Oh wow, that's right, because we've seen the actor as a Centauri before. That's hilarious.
I honestly did not know that.
I didn't either. Thank
Yeah,
you.
Hey,
Yeah, when you look at the episode again, take a look at the heads. You'll see it.
Oh my gosh, I wonder who the others are now.
I don't think I want to know.
Abraham Lincoln.
Oh, good grief.
Oh, I hope Abraham Lincoln's here.
Uh,
They're like, we got him. He was helping Narns.
And it might have just been Bob who just looked like him.
Yeah, he's like, what did I do, man? We're helping Narns.
You looked
Yeah,
at me
get off
funny
planet.
off with your head. You could almost say that Carthage is like the Queen of Hearts.
off with his
You know what?
head.
You're right. Yeah.
Oh boy.
Because he's kind of turned Centauri Prime into an Alice in Wonderland for sure, with everything else lurking around in the dark shadows.
Well, the thing is, I have a feeling the Drock were also there at the time because they were
I
definitely
agree.
messing with his prime minister. You know, the nervous little guy,
Yeah.
because he had a keeper on him. That was for darn sure.
Mm-hmm.
I
He
hate those
made
things.
keepers creepy. Ooh.
They give me the Wiggins.
Yeah, I'm there. Them and the face huggers from Alien. Oh,
No, I'm sorry. The facehuggers from Alien, those things give me the uber Wiggins. The keepers, they give me the mild Wiggins. I have degrees of Wiggins that I can get into. And if no one gets that reference, it's okay. It's from Buffy, which I'm eventually gonna do. I'm gonna start doing reviews for that.
Oh, that's not good. I
So
like Buffy. Good memories.
yes,
Oh,
it
man.
is.
I can feel that though, because sometimes my work schedule causes me to leave like about 20 minutes into the discussion.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes,
it's so
we
good
know.
to have you longer.
No. But no, actually, now that I think about it, I wonder if some of the religious people that were drowned out into the wastelands of Mimbar are there, because there's that portion that comes up in their Civil War. Wonder if they had some ties to that warrior caste person that left the rest of the warrior caste Great Council behind.
Oh,
It's like because they weren't killing other Minbari, they were just driving them out into hospitable weather to die. It's like,
I think you mean inhospitable weather.
yeah, yes,
Yeah,
Hospitable weather you could survive in. Inhospitable weather you couldn't.
yeah. That's what I meant. But it's just like, oh my god! So they're technically skirting the issue of killing other Minbari. They're just letting the weather do it for them. I'm
yeah. It's like they're cheating ways to kill them. They're like, I didn't kill them. Death killed them.
oh.
Oh,
But yeah, this whole
great.
episode causes an even bigger cascade effect for everybody. Yay!
oh man.
Well, hence why it's called Severed Dreams.
Yeah, plural. Because a lot of dreams are, riding on Babylon 5 and
Yep.
all that stuff. Oof.
Very true. Very, very true.
And this is crazy too. I also want to say how this kind of goes back to the beginning. Now I want to say the whole story of Babylon 5 was caused by the revelations at the Battle of the Line. And the cause of that war was a miscommunication firing on the Minbari cruiser and all that. And that was a heavy type of shot. And there was a few shots like this during this episode where it's like there's no turning back now. And the dreams of avoiding that future is gone because in a way it's kind of playing again. And we even see one ship do a Sinclair ramming into I'm not going down like this, I'm taking you out with me. Like her ship crashed
Yeah,
into
the
other
Churchill.
ship. Yeah, so it's like the dreams are truly severed because the past is literally repeating itself, just with more players on deck, I guess. More worlds involved.
Well,
And
the
sad
problem.
thing is Sinclair had to let it happen. He could have he could have prevented a lot of that stuff because of the knowledge he had, but he had to let things play out as is. Otherwise, maybe his friends wouldn't have been there to properly take down the shadows. That's a heck of a thing to carry.
Well, he didn't.
Yeah.
He didn't know yet that at that point.
Well, no,
until
when he
after
was
this.
Raylan, transported back in time. And he had to leave messages for himself in the future to be like, okay, I gotta send this to
Right.
Delinda at such a time. And the guy knew that the religious cast would be devoted enough to, okay, we're gonna listen to you to the letter and give these letters out to other people at the very exact time on this very archaic paper.
Yeah, oh my gosh, you're right, because that is right, because this is the exact time when the Great Council was prophesized to, or it was prophesized to break up, and then it happened, and then we get to the Valen stuff. Oh my gosh, you're right.
So yeah, he knew that the Battle of the Line, and he could have stopped Earth from even doing the oopsie daisy and killing off Dukat and everything.
That's true.
He could have stopped all of it, but he wasn't allowed to. He
had to preserve the timeline, because if he went back in the past, then he had already done it in the present.
Yep. It's kind of like a closed circle.
And then that knowledge he probably left in the letter to Delenn as well, because she came in with such knowledge saying we have to do it because we kind of already did do it. So to preserve things, we have to do it now. Otherwise, there'll be consequences. And she would not know that if Sheridan didn't know it as my mind exploded. Sorry.
Yeah, but I'm just saying, like it's that's why I'm trying to mimic something kind of similar with my series. It's like crazy fun. It's like this is how I want people to do time travel in some ways, where it's like you make a closed loop. Aha!
That's brilliant.
It's like this is all has happened before, and it's all happened again. Oh my, poor Mr.
Another great series. Reboot of Battlestar Galactica.
Although right now with the way, like, see, back when that thing first started, everybody wasn't trying to outgrit each other. So it stood out from other things, but now everybody's like, oh yeah, let's add all the blood, sex, and gore that we can to make it super dark and blah blah blah. It's like, oh my god, please offer something else on the table. I need a break.
It's too much shock value sometimes. It's too much.
Yeah, kind of like with certain series called The Boys, even though I've never actually watched The Boys.
I haven't seen The Boys yet either. I remember Spartacus. I enjoyed that one. That one kind of felt in place though. But I just get what you mean. A lot of things feel forced sometimes, like shock.
Yeah, I mean, I get that a lot of people want to ride that whatever kind of pop culture like high that's happening, but it just keeps creating a lot of copycats without actually being inspired by something and then just going off in your own direction. At least that's what it feels like to me. But what do I know? I'm just one Florida woman.
Yeah, that's true. And hey, Lewis, it's not that I dislike The Boys. I've never actually watched it, so I can't really say. I've just heard things from other people and everything. If you like The Boys, cool, groovy.
I have to check out, because I remember reading the Dynamite comics a few times back in the day that The Boys is based off of, so it'd be kind of interesting. But I don't know. In a way, I kind of like and still enjoy Mystery Men, which is kind of like The Boys, which is a satire comic book about comic books. So,
I love Mystery Men. It's one of my favorite movies. I actually did a review of it.
Did you know?
Yes, I did. Yeah,
that's so good. Oh.
I did a review on it a couple months ago. Well, that was a lot of fun. So.
I wish they had an extended version of that.
Give them time. Give them time. We might be getting a 6-hour version of Endgame.
I mean, I like more detail. It always feels better in my experiences.
Yes, I agree. So, well, guys, gal. Anything else on anything? Go ahead, Fiona.
All I know is you guys wouldn't want to see my tirade on The Boys and stuff like that. Mainly because I'd be here for hours. Because when you only have one type of cake on the table, you kind of just want to take a baseball bat to it.
Kind of like
I want to see that.
Kind of like Al Pacino in the Untouchables.
I guess the best way I could put it, okay, imagine if there was nothing but Christopher Reeve Superman everywhere and all you wanted was a cake like The Boys, but then flip it and you have my situation, basically.
Yeah, I get that.
Dang, that sounds crazy.
Yeah, it's just because the majority of stuff is more geared toward like, oh, you have to have this X, Y, or Z element, and oh, everything has to be kind of grounded in reality. It's like, no, it doesn't. You can have the fantastical go off into a different direction.
Okay. This is a little self promotion. Most of you know I'm still working on my Star Wars fan fiction. I just completed part 7, currently working on part 8. I'm hoping to have it done by the end of this month. Hey. I just finished part 7, and I have a section in there where there is a battle on Kashyyyk, which you all know is the homeworld of the Wookiees. There is a character who is on the antagonist side of things, a villain. And the enemy gets pushed off planet by the Wookiees and the good guys. This one character gets cornered by Chewbacca and a group of other Wookiees and another character. And he's like, "Well, are you just going to kill me?" And another character says to him, "No, I think the Wookiees would like to give you a proper send-off." I don't show it, but I describe it. His body is tossed onto a transport and sent back to the enemy fleet. When the transport arrives, the hatch opens, and the crew sees the character torn in half at the waist, and the wounds cauterized. And I think one or two crew members go onto the transport. And he's like, "This is a message to all of us. Never come to Kashyyyk again, or it'll be more than just me that was broken in half." And then he expires.
Dang.
Well, remember what Han Solo said to 3PO? Droids don't rip people's arms out of their sockets when they lose. Wookiees are known to do that. Well, this guy, and it is a guy, doesn't get his arm ripped out of his socket. He gets ripped in half.
Oh.
Elysium Fiona, I'll send you the script for part 5 of part 7 through Twitter later, so you can read the whole thing.
Looking forward to it.
Yeah. So, well, anyways, that all being said, is there anything else about the episode y'all want to cover that we haven't really dug into, or do you think we've given Severed Dreams its just service?
I found just one thing. It's when
the
command staff, when the Alexander arrives first, and Sheridan tells him we're going to render assistance. Every single one on the command deck is willing to do it because it's humanitarian. They're willing to help. Will help anyone. But the minute they say we're going to turn on our own people because we have to, at least one, if not several people, leave the command deck because that's not something they will do. That's just showing that even on Clark's side are good people, they're just not willing to go up against their own government. They're willing to help people in need. And I thought that was a nice touch.
I think it was just one officer that we do see leave the command deck. I think that's it, or CNC. But I know some people will go, "Boo, he's not loyal." Like, no, I can understand. I can understand that rationale.
Yeah,
I can understand that rationale. Anything that to me, that's logical. That makes sense. Helping another ship, sure, that's one thing. Firing on another ship, that's another thing entirely. Yeah, I can wholly respect that. So,
well, that's why Sheridan asked for amnesty for the people who served under him, because the officer is ultimately the one that takes a responsibility for those actions.
Yeah. One last thing I like about this episode was just kind of like a technical thing. Like they had this camera angle that I like. It's a certain shot where you're focusing on a character, and you physically move the camera back in a direction, but while you do it, you zoom in on the character, so the character doesn't lose shape, but the world around him like expands. They do that on Sheridan when he sits down. and they do it very beautifully.
Oh yeah,
And
Yes.
yeah.
it's at a moment in the story, so it's like a favorite shot of mine. They do it in Ever After, even they do a lot, but
They use
I
it
like
in Lord of the Rings.
Yes,
Mhm.
exactly. They do it there too. But in this one, I love the usage of the moment in the story when they use it, because I felt like this was a true point of no return. I know that happened a few episodes ago or before this, but that's the one where I felt that at that moment in time, Sheridan knew that there's no going back now. And I felt that dwarfing, sheepish feeling of that camera shot was perfectly used in that moment, because I really felt in the story that was justified. They do a lot in beautiful ways of danger and heightened sense of emotions in the story that the characters are going through, but I felt like this was the best usage of it in this episode in the whole series. Dolly zoom, there it is. Yes,
Yep.
I love the dolly.
Mhm.
I've seen people do it with other ways before, but yeah, it's usually a dolly. They pull it back or to the side or in an angle.
Yeah. I'm glad you did bring that up, Koj. That was a really well done shot, and it really. It's not just camera tricks for camera tricks' sake. It does play into, well, Sheridan feels very much alone in this moment. Like everything is on his shoulders now. Absolutely
There is
everything.
one thing I kind of forgot. Ivanova almost lost her life in the battle.
Yes.
She
That's
would have
right.
gone out the way Ganya did if Sheridan hadn't stopped her.
Oh my
Mhm.
gosh, you're right. And Ganya was there when the ships first fired on Dukat,
Hmm.
and he had an ejection situation.
Yep.
Oh, that's right.
Wow.
Oh,
Yep.
wow.
Sheridan saved her life.
And Sheridan was there when Ganya died too. They were on the same ship, so it's like, that could
Yeah.
have happened. Wow, good catch, Fiona. You're just
Yeah.
exploding my mind today. Pow.
Good. That Vienna, very well done.
Florida woman knows
understood.
many little things.
Oh, that's
You know a lot of things. Now quit being.
Many little things that lead into greater things. Like, here we go. Little details. Whee!
maybe it's never too late for the pebbles to vote. Kosh. Sorry, that's the little thing from Believers.
Tell me to put on my bat suit. I'll do it. Oh, mercy.
That's a good detail. Wow, this is a really good episode. I'm surprised that this was in the title of the series, though. I thought it would. Severed Dreams, but Point of No Return makes sense too.
At least you have your.
What?
I'm
Well,
Florida
yeah.
woman. I have a third
Sorry,
eye,
Ivanova.
born of madness. Here we go. Yeah.
Ivanova is God. Just kidding. Ignore that part. Anyway.
Well, the true quote: "You are supposed to apologize after it." Just kidding about the God part.
Oh, Lord. Anyway. All right. Well, guys and gals, I think we're going to wrap up. But I want to thank everyone for tuning in today, and I want to thank my council members. I want to thank Vienna and Mount Elysium, Lord Koj. Guys, thank you all for being here today. And Zod, Ryder, if you catch us on the replay, bud, we miss you, man. And Classic Comics, we miss you as well. And as they say in the Great Council, even though it's broken, we will hold these places for you until you return. So, but before we go, Koj, Elysium, Vienna, if you have anything for your channels, I know Elysium already posted the links to everyone's channel in the chat. But if you have anything coming up that you want to plug, this is your opportunity. I yield the floor. Have at it.
I'm just writing stuff that I want to see. That's about it. You know, since everybody seems to be going in the direction of The Boys and Invincible and all that stuff. So I'm going in the opposite direction. I'm going for uplifting things. There you go.
I have the next Babylon 5 video, the main cast, ready to go, but I want to build up a stock of 4 or 5 other videos before I post it, because I want to start getting my channel more regular, like one video a week or so. So I want to build up the stock before I post it. But it's done and dusted, and what they're saying, it is in the can, ready to go.
Nice. I'm just kind of on a hiatus right now, enjoying Snyder Cut and other things, but I am working on a little show for my little pro wrestling thing. I'm doing a re-premiere of a premiere that didn't go technically as well as I wanted to. It was supposed to be before Snyder Cut came out, so I'm gonna host that premiere and then watch Snyder Cut after that, and that's gonna be open for everyone to check out. It should be fun. But yeah, I'm here on YouTube everywhere.
Excellent. All around the board. Excellent. So definitely be sure to check that out. And everybody, make sure you go check out the channels that Lacium posted in the chat. And if you have not subscribed to them, do so, by all means. As far as I'm concerned, this weekend I won't be doing anything because it is Holy Weekend and Sunday is Easter. So I am going to try and post a little short video in regards to all that. I'll probably do it as I'll schedule it. I'll do it as a pre-recorded and schedule it and everything because I want to spend time with the family. But this month, it's going to be kind of a more comedic month in terms of content that's going to be coming up. Going to be doing some comedic movie reviews and everything. I'll be posting those as they come up, and I will be continuing my director spotlight series or anything. And the next one on the books will be, of course, Quentin Tarantino. So I'll be scheduling that for this month as well. So be sure to keep your eyes and ears out for that. I am closing in, although I did take a couple of steps back. I lost a couple of subscribers. But we're closing in on 400. And as soon as we hit 400, I will be doing that Last Starfighter watch party to celebrate that. So, be sure to put the word out about the channel and be sure to follow all of us on social media, not just myself, because this isn't just about me. This channel, this community, this particular channel or this particular stream is nothing without the people that make it up. So, and I want to thank everybody for their support. It is greatly appreciated as always. So, but that being said, folks, you all have a great weekend, a happy and blessed Easter, and, we will see you all next week. And until next week, this is the Council of Ones, signing off.